What is up, guys? John Pep here from JohnPepFitness.com here at Acceleration Fitness. And this week I got 5 tips for you to keep your training fun but still make progress. All right. So a lot of times, got an audience in here. Don't mind me looking all over the place. A lot of times there seems to be, you can kind of come to a point in your training where it's just not fun anymore. And for a lot of people, that's where it starts to fall off, with the workouts. And if it's not fun, they don't want to do it, and they're more likely not to show up to the gym. As a trainer, working, every single day, all day with clients who struggle with this, I see it all the time. People just don't, they kind of lose interest, and if it's not something that they necessarily enjoy, they're going to be a lot more likely not to do it, and ultimately not get the progress that they want to see, and in most cases that they need, right? So, 5 tips, and going more on that, I think, so one second here, going more on that is, even for people like myself, I'm a trainer, and I love to lift, right? I absolutely love lifting and training, but there are times that my training it kind of gets stale and it's not as fun anymore. For example, before a powerlifting meet, once it comes down to, during the prep, you're doing many of the same things repetitively, like heavy singles, doubles, triples, and a lot of the same accessory movements with some variance, but not as much as in, when you're not prepping for a meet. And it does start to get monotonous and not as fun because you're beat up, you're tired from the heavy training and kind of the same things. So I totally understand that, and you have to find ways to make it fun. And going into that, number 1, I think, is training for a competition. Now, I know I just said that sometimes it can get monotonous training for a competition, but at the same time, it gives you a goal. It gives you something to work towards on the calendar, and I've talked about this a lot in these videos, is picking a date for something, whether it's, this state, I want to do this race, or, I want to do this bodybuilding show, physique, whatever, powerlifting meet, CrossFit competition, Ollie lifting, Olympic lifting, something like that. Pick something that you enjoy, some kind of training that is fun to you. Me, I like powerlifting. I like lifting heavy. So I pick powerlifting competitions. I'm not trying to do anything crazy with powerlifting, but I really enjoy it. It's fun. I like to compete. Keeps, things fresh. Gives me something to work towards. And I really enjoy the goal setting aspect of it, and, working, having something in mind as I'm training, not just training to, to look better or to get bigger, things like that. I want to get stronger so I can do better at the competition and kind of, push myself. So number 1, I would say, is training for competition, no matter what it is. Like I said, running, obstacle course races, lifting competitions, all those things that I listed off. Do that. Number 2, get good training partners. So this is so important. And again, this is another thing that I've touched on a lot in the early videos, but if you haven't seen those, go back and watch those. But this is something big for me that I really think is very important, because the better your training partners are, 1, the more they're going to push you, and the more fun you're going to have while you're training, and you're going to get better results, right? No matter what those goals are. And that's one thing here at Acceleration Fitness that I think we do so well, is our community. And it's not necessarily us, the trainers. I think we do a pretty good job, but it's the people within the classes that make the community, and they help push each other. There's 15, 20 people all working towards the same goal, and they're gonna push each other so much harder than if you were just doing it on your own, or if you're not helping each other out, if you're not, having that sense of community, being, encouraging to one another, motivated and stuff like that. So if you get good training partners, it's gonna make it a lot more fun. You're gonna stick to it. You're gonna get better results. Everything's gonna be better if you have good training partners. Number 3, variation. Now, variation is really important within your training. 1, so you don't plateau, but 2, just to keep your mind kind of fresh. And like I said, kind of go back to the powerlifting thing. I'm just coming off a powerlifting prep and just a meet this last weekend, and it was kind of, it got to be mentally exhausting. It was fun. I loved it, and I said, train for a competition, but it does get to a point where then you need to change things up a little bit. So these next 4, 6, maybe in 8 weeks, I'm not quite sure yet, because I'm not 100% sure on the exact date of my next competition yet, but these next, this next chunk of time, at least 4-week block, maybe even up to an 8-week block, I'm going to be doing a bodybuilding program that's going to be a lot different than anything I've done for the last year. For 1, I want to put more mass on and kind of, add mass to places that necessarily don't get hit as much in powerlifting because I think that can kind of help round things out within my numbers and whatnot. That's another separate video, but it can kind of help round things out. And also, I just want to have like that variance that makes it fun again. Like, ooh, today, for example, I did feet up close grip bench press, and the program called for, with your feet up in the air with a close grip bench. Now I've done close grip bench press before, but I've never really done feet up because as a powerlifter, like that's not a thing that you normally do, and it's more of like kind of a bodybuilding thing with that minimal arch, completely flat back, a lot tougher, not as much weight, right? But that was on the agenda today in the program, and it was fun. It was cool to see what I could do, and to try that out because I've never done that before. So it was a lot of fun, and I've been lifting for 6-7 years, so to do something new like that, it's exciting, it's fun. So you can still have, variation is important, but you can still have the same overall goal in mind. Like personally, I still want to be as strong as I possibly can. I still want to get stronger. But with that, I think this next 4 to 8 weeks is going to be, it's going to get me to my goal quicker if I focus on more hypertrophy and bodybuilding style stuff because of all the reasons I listed, but also just the mental break and kind of the fun nature of it. And then I'll start moving back into powerlifting specific once I get closer to a competition this spring. So that is just kind of number 3 with the variation. And also that you can add very small variations if you do have, a goal that's coming up pretty close. Like you can add variations. Like in powerlifting, it's very big to change bars or stances or squat types, deadlift types, bench types. So like you can use a safety squat bar, a normal bar, a bull bar, so a little bend to it, cambered bar, all kinds of different bars, deficits, pulling from deadlifting, pulling from deficits, squatting in different stances with pauses, different types of squats, front squats, Zercher squats, back squats, all those things, high bar, low bar. So there's all these little different variations, and you can kind of use those to have fun with it, but still move towards your goal. So that's very important. Number 4 is enjoying the small victories. So this is a big one for me. I think, like I said, don't mind me looking off in the distance. There's people dancing behind the camera. But enjoy the small victories, whether it's PRs, weight loss, weight gain, body fat drop, whatever your specific goals are, enjoy the smaller victories. Now, set those goals up into smaller micro goals working towards that bigger picture. For example, my deadlift goal is 600 pounds. I want to deadlift 600 pounds in competition. No. I've deadlifted, lower 5s in training, and then this weekend I just hit a 5-pound meat PR, right? It's only 5 pounds, but it's still a 5-pound meat PR that's moving me closer to that goal. So celebrate the small victories. Again, that can be applied to anything, whether it's weight loss, body fat, muscle gained, like lean mass gained, or whatever it happens to be, whatever that goal is. So that is number 4. Now number 5 is going to be challenging yourself. So this kind of goes back to number 1 with training for a competition or event, but number 5, challenge yourself. Set specific goals. Say you want to get stronger. Set specific goals for your lifts. I want to bench this much, squat this much, deadlift this much, or whatever you happen to be. Maybe you like overhead press. I want to overhead press this much. Maybe you like to run. I want to run a mile in 5 minutes, or a 6-minute mile, 7-minute, whatever is your personal goal. Challenge yourself with that. Put it on the calendar, write it down, and think of that each time you train. Set yourself up with your programming to reach that goal. Okay, so for example, mine, I want to deadlift 600, I want to squat 5, I want to bench 350. That is written on my whiteboard in my bedroom. Like that is written there. That is what I want to do. And each time I train, it has to work somehow towards that goal, right? It can't veer off away from that goal because those are my overall goals. I want to hit those in competition, and that is what I'm going to work towards through my training. Now, you can have the variation like I talked about earlier, number 3, with the little microcycles, the variations and bars, stuff like that, whatever it happens to be, but still working towards that goal. Challenge yourself, set a lofty goal, go after it. So that is my 5 tips to keep training fun, but still keep on getting jacked, losing weight, gaining strength, whatever you want to do. As always, check me out on social media, John Pat Fitness on most. Hit like, subscribe if you could. Let me know that you're watching. It makes me, know that I'm not wasting my time talking into a camera for 14 minutes every week. But anyways, JPAP on Snapchat. Hit me up with any questions you may have. Jump In Fitness on Facebook and Instagram. Other than that, guys, keep on chasing it.